Great morning, everyone! Happy listening to Lucida Financials and to our guests. So I just want to know how you feel this morning. Please type an emoji on the chat box and let us know how you feel, no? So if you feel happy, put a smiley face or any emoji that describes who you are. So please chat on the chat box. How are you feeling today? It's a great morning, beautiful, beautiful weather. And yesterday we had a rain shower, so it kind of freshened the weather. But now we have a very, very good weather today. So I hope you're already up and about. If you have your coffee with you, feel free to drink coffee while we are having this webinar. So again, so we have greetings from Grape Chua. Good morning to you too. Also from Eileen Benson. Great morning to you. Also from Leslie Nava. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Okay, so please let us know where you are tuning in. So where are you located? So just to let you know, so watching live from QZ, Miss Loy Versosa. Okay, good morning to you. So from QZ, okay. And who else? Where are you calling from? Where are you tuning in? So let us know where you are. Good morning to you also, Pixie Mendoza. Yes. Okay. So let us get to know one another. Oh, we have from Valenzuela, Miss Lori Lucido. Good morning to you. Or is it good evening in Valenzuela? Oh no, that's Venezuela. Just kidding. So Emma Con from Santa Ana. Okay, good morning to each and every one of you and welcome to our webinar here at Lucido Financials. I am Maya Rosales and I will be your host this morning in this 1 hour jam-packed session. And maybe you're asking, what is this Gear Up series all about? Okay, so Gear Up series is actually a series of talks on things that matter to you or things that are important to you. And we actually have lined up series of talks for you with great speakers. This morning, we're so excited for our guests. But before I do that, I would like to invite our head of the Lucido Financials just to give an overview of who we are, what we do, what this series is all about. So, friends, guests, please help me welcome our head here at Lucido Financials, Mr. Rayson Lucido. Mr. Rayson?
Hi, Maya.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Lucido Financials. So allow me to introduce myself first and our group. So again, I'm Rayson Lucido. I'm the head of Lucido Financials. We are actually a group of financial professionals, professional advisors, and our aim is to promote financial literacy among Filipinos. And so we love learning and we love to educate. And for this morning, as Maya mentioned, so we have a series of gearing up topics for the coming months. And this is our first webinar, and it's all about education. And we know that August is just a few days from now, and it's the official start of the school year 2020-2021. And I know that many parents, like me, have many questions. Some have fears. In fact, may nagsasabi pa nga, nagpapalpitate na daw sila, this coming school year kasi hindi nila alam yung gagawin. Hindi rin nila alam kung ano yung i-expect with this home-based learning. And so, we decided as a team to have this as our first topic in our Gear Up series. So, we know that marami talagang mga magulang ang hindi handa at hindi pa alam kung ano ang gagawin. And it's really part of what we do. We prepare parents. We help parents prepare for their children's education. And at least dito, hindi man indirectly in terms of financial planning for their financial future, we will be able to help parents in sharing these topics. So we invited a very good speaker this morning, and I hope that at the end of the presentation, you will be more confident and you have hope that yes, this is a new journey for us, but with the things that I'll be learning for this morning, I can look with confidence and with hope in the coming days in helping my children in this home-based learning. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy and learn a lot from our first webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sir Rayson. Incidentally, if in case you didn't know, Sir Rayson and his wife Gloria Lucito are also, into homeschool or blended learning. Also, okay. Thank you, Sir Rayson. Okay, so with that, without further ado, I know you're excited to get to know our speaker, no? Just to introduce her, she has been homeschooling her children for almost 12 years now. Wow. And from homeschooling one child, she's now homeschooling 3 children, okay? While at the same time, managing several businesses and writing books. Her eldest child, Yanti, is a world-class pianist, while her second child is one of the chess scholars of the National Chess Federation of the Philippines and the Philippine Sports Commission. Wow, pride of the Philippines. Teresa is an international corporate trainer, an Amazon best-selling author, a 2-time Cardinal Sin Book Awards winner, and an award-winning blogger. I'm sure some of you who are tuning in right now are following her, okay? And she's also a consultant for management, HR, and training solutions, as well as a career, executive, and parent coach and counselor. Naku, tama-tama. A lot of parents will learn from her today. She is the founder of the Hands-On Parent While Earning Network, the Homeschooling Parent Support Group, PH, and the Gifted Homeschoolers Forum, Philippines Facebook group. Friends and guests, help me welcome our speaker for this morning, Ms. Teresa Gumap-as Dumadag.
Good morning. Good morning, Maya.
Good morning, Tara. Thank you for having us. I'm sure you're very busy, but we're so grateful to have you this morning. So, how are you? What keeps you busy?
What keeps me busy is cooking food for my family. Since the quarantine started, that has been one of my major activities. Making sure that we have enough supplies. It can be challenging to get our supplies during this quarantine. I was also busy helping fellow parents, just like what we are doing now. I'm busy helping new homeschoolers learn more or understand what homeschooling is about. That's why I started a support group. And recently, I also finished one of my latest books.
Wow! What's the title of your latest book?
It's about my homeschooled son, Yanti, God's Little Piano. So I
Wow.
wrote his story and how homeschooling had a big impact in his life.
Wow, that's so amazing, Teresa. Kaya excited kami makinig sa'yo ngayon, no? So speaking of homeschooling, nako, Miss Teresa, ang dami mga parents ngayon in panic mode. Kasi I think it's their first time to do this, and due to the new system of learning that DepEd is requiring right now, no? So what do you think are the various challenges that parents are facing right now? Or kahit kayo mismo, kayo mag-asawa, ano ba yung na-experience nyo ngayon personally as homeschool practitioners?
I think majority of the parents right now are really challenged in providing for their children. This is the common sentiment that I hear from many parents. They are so busy making sure that they will be able to provide for the needs of their children, especially that some schools are already opening up enrollment, or they have already opened enrollment in their school. So this is a major concern of many parents like us. And our family, although we had been homeschooling for quite some time already, we also had adjustments because in the past, we also had a lot of field trips. We go out a lot. Even though we are homeschooling, we don't stay at home all the time. And the children also have online classes or outside classes. They have other teachers that they meet and interact with. They have classmates. They have clubs that they are a part of. Just like my second child, he is part of a karate class. So now he's stuck at home, and he cannot go to his dojo, and he has to practice his karate at home. So even homeschoolers are adjusting. Everyone is adjusting, not just those who are from the traditional school setup. So we are all in this together.
Yeah, we are all in this together. Ayan, we homeschool as one. Okay. Now, I understand that there are actually different options. Kahit ako mismo, nalilito ako kasi I'm not really into homeschooling. I'm into traditional learning, so I've been a professor for a long time. So maybe can you help define what are the different options out there? Kasi may homeschool, may blended learning, may online. Ano ba talagang difference ito? Are they one and the same or are they different?
there are many different options. So I prepared a slide or a few slides to help us better understand these options that we as parents have, that we can choose from for our children this school year. So let me share my slide so that parents will have a view of this options that we can choose from. I think a lot of parents are overwhelmed because there are many options that are available, and I hope that with this presentation, we can help them choose which is the best for their family, because every family is different. So the first option is online learning. This is where the school and the teacher leads in the design of the education of the child. They choose what will be taught, how it will be taught, when it will be taught. It's purely online, and you have to have gadgets like computer or a tablet or a phone to be able to do online learning. The other option is blended learning. This one is a combination of having online classes and also modules, or the modular approach. This is still school and teacher-led. So they are the ones who decide what will be covered in the online classes, and they are also the ones who decide which will be modular in approach. And then the other option is homeschooling. This is purely parent-led, because it's the parent usually who is the main teacher, and the parent decides whether the child will have online classes or not, or if it will be purely modular. Now, may I share the different advantages and disadvantages of these approaches?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So that the parents will know what will fit their situation, because not everyone is working from home. Some are still working outside of their houses. So
Yes.
what would be the best setup for them? So let me start again with online learning. In online learning, since I've mentioned it is purely online, you have to be connected to the internet. So the disadvantage here is that you really have to have a setup for this kind of education option. So you have to have the dedicated computer or laptop, tablet, or phone, whatever gadget you choose for your child, and you have to have a steady internet connection. Now, in online learning, there are two kinds of options also that parents can choose from. There is what we call the synchronous and the asynchronous. So when we say it's a synchronous online learning, it means that the child will have to be online at the same time that the teacher is online. So everyone else in the class should be online at the same time, at the same schedule.
I see. Okay.
Yes. So now the disadvantage is, what if you have more than one child at home? What if you have 2 children or 3 children and all of them are enrolled in synchronous online classes? So that means for each child, you have to have a dedicated gadget. Okay?
Oh.
And that is also a challenge for the internet connection, because more people connected to the internet in the house can be a challenge sometimes, no? So mas
Right.
humihina minsan yung internet pag maraming nakakonect. Now the
That's
problem
true.
is complicated. What if you are working online from home, no? So what, you need to use the computer also, and then your children needs to be online for their classes. So that's the challenge for this kind of setup, no? So it can be costly, and aside from being costly, because you need to have separate gadgets, dedicated gadgets for each one who will be using a computer, the other challenge is for very young children, or for young children, especially those in the elementary and early elementary days. This kind of setup is not very healthy, because children are supposed to be moving. Even as adults are not recommended to be looking at the computer screen or sitting for very long periods of time. So if it is unhealthy for us adults, how much more for children? So that is the challenge of this kind of setup. Now, we move to the next option, blended learning. Now, this has lesser time in the computer because some of the lessons are offline, or there are modules for some of the subjects. So one advantage of this blended learning is that you don't need to be online all the time. So there is a break for the child. The child can study using the books, using the workbooks. Now, I'd like to expound again on the asynchronous online lesson. So as I mentioned earlier, there is the synchronous, sabay-sabay, and then asynchronous. Now, the advantage of asynchronous online classes is that when the school has asynchronous online classes, the child does not need to be online at the same time as the teacher. Okay?
Wow.
Some schools, they have the learning management system, and you can watch the videos. You can watch the videos. There's
In
a
their own
sequence. Yes, there's a sequence. So the child knows that this is the first video to be watched, the second video to be studied. So he doesn't need to be in the same day or same time slot as the teacher because there is already a sequence, or the videos are ordered. Okay? So yun yung maganda dito. Hindi siya kailangang nakatutok or nakaupo ng sobrang tagal. Meron siyang break. So this is a more ideal setup, especially if the parents are really busy and working outside the home. And then the last option is homeschooling. So here, the parent is usually the main teacher. Although parents can still outsource some of the subjects, especially if they feel that they are not that competent in some subjects, they can hire tutors or teachers to teach other subjects to their children. And again, the advantage of homeschooling is that this is very flexible because it's the parent who decides when the child will have the classes or the lesson. So, for example, if the parent needs to work during the morning, they can schedule the classes or the lessons of the children in the afternoon. Or if it's the other way around, they can do the lessons in the morning and the parent can work from home in the afternoon. So it's very flexible. You can manage your schedule based on your availability. So ito yung medyo less stress na option, and this is what we do in our family. Now, Maya, may I share more slides just to differentiate, because homeschooling has many approaches, and I'd like parents to have a view. I'll just try to briefly explain the different kinds of homeschooling approaches, because there is also a very traditional approach to homeschooling. There are homeschoolers who try to bring the school at home. So parang ganun din, merong schedule, very regular. The curriculum is boxed or fixed, so that comes from the school. Meron ding quizzes, long tests, and there are assessments. But there are also the more flexible and progressive approaches to homeschooling. So merong eclectic, Montessori style, project-based, life schooling or unschooling. Actually, mas marami pa. Pero because of the limited time that we have, so these are some of what I wanted to share briefly. So let me just go through them one by one. I mentioned there's school at home. So school at home, parang talagang nasa school ka pa rin, pero nasa bahay ka lang. No? Yung ginagawa sa school, ginagawa sa loob ng bahay. So that's parang school at home or home study, or parang distance learning, and it's the parent. The parent is the one who is facilitating the curriculum, although the curriculum was decided by the school. And then there is another option, which is more flexible and progressive. Here, the parent exercises the freedom to choose what kind of materials or what kind of topics will be included in the curriculum. So we call that open curriculum. And sometimes there can be tests or assessments, or sometimes it can just be portfolio review. So medyo progressive yung approach. And marami kang pwedeng gawin. You can choose the approach and the style of teaching. It can be different from how we know it before nung panahon natin. Parang napakatagal. Okay, so sometimes this is called eclectic homeschooling kasi nga you can mix match the different programs and books. You can use local material or you can use imported books in your homeschool if you want. And then there's also the Montessori style of homeschooling. Just like the Montessori schools, this is very child-led. No? The parent puts structure, but the child leads the way. No? We become observant of the readiness of the child, of the strengths and the limitations of the child, and we try to approach the lessons or adjust the lessons and the way we are teaching it, presenting it based on the child. So very progressive din to, and they have a lot of hands-on activities. The emphasis is hands-on experience because they believe that the more senses are used, the more that the child will understand and retain what is being taught. And here, there are mixed ages in the class. So if you have several children, so parang Montessori na dahil iba-ibang ages all at one time ang tinuturuan mo, just like in a Montessori school. And then the next approach, we also call this the project-based homeschooling. Here, there is no set curriculum. It's very child-led, very interest-led, and unlike in other approaches na hiwa-hiwalay yung mga subjects, here, the subjects are integrated because just like in real life, hindi naman natin binubusisi, di ba, na ito math, ito science, ito gawin mo, ito English, no? That's not how we do it. In project-based homeschooling, you are given a project, or you decide what project to take on, and then it can be a combination of many different subjects or fields. And the projects are used to teach the child the many different aspects of learning and also to assess the child's understanding. This is very progressive. And then last but not least, we also have the unschooling or life schooling approach. For unschoolers, there is very little structure or none at all. It's learning through life activities. So what is natural to the family dynamics, that's how the kids learn. And it's also
Parang bagay ako dyan, Tere.
interest-led. Yes. Those who have
No
free
structure.
spirits.
Yeah,
free
creative, free spirit.
relate to this very much. That is why this is our approach in our homeschool. So in our family, we follow the eclectic homeschooling. We have chosen an open curriculum. We have enrolled our children with a DepEd accredited homeschool provider, but they have given me the freedom to choose what kind of materials I want to choose. So in the past years, we've been using a combination of both local and foreign curriculum. And sometimes I give them short worksheets or short tests, but most of the time they don't have tests because I put so much value on hands-on and practical application, hands-on activities and application. And because we are Catholics, we are devout Catholics, we are active in our Catholic community, I have also decided to use the Bible as one of our most important books in our homeschool, and we live the liturgical calendar. So before the pandemic, we go to church every day, we attend masses, and we read the Bible daily. Until now, we still read the Bible daily, and that's part of our regular routine. We prioritize character formation. And we also embrace the Montessori style of homeschooling because I like to follow the lead of the child. No, I have children who are spirited and they know what they want. So instead of me imposing on them what I want them to learn, I get from them ideas on what they are interested to learn. So child-led, baliktad na. Hindi yung teacher lang yung palaging nagsasabi, ito yung lesson. No, they tell me, I want to learn this. So I listen to them and I try to design activities that will help them learn those topics that they are interested in. And we integrate many subjects all together. The only subjects that we usually do that we follow a strict curriculum is English and math. All the other subjects are usually integrated with many other topics. And we choose projects that are real life or relevant. So in school, in the traditional setup, di ba, dati meron tayong mga projects tapos we don't know how we will use these projects.
That's true.
Meron ako naaalala mga ganyang project na inaalikabok na sa bahay namin kasi hindi namin alam ano bang use ng project na pinagawa sa aming teacher. So here in the project-based homeschooling, it's the child sometimes who chooses the project. So for example, when my eldest child was 7 years old, he decided that his project is to learn the music in the mass. So that is his project. And his test, there is no written test. His test is the actual performance or when he is actually serving in the mass. That is his test when he was 7 years old. And every day, before the pandemic, before the quarantine, every day his test is how he serves in the mass, how he plays the music in the mass. That is his test.
Wow, parang gusto kong maki-test, maki-enroll sa inyo, Tere, ha? Parang ang saya ng setup ng bahay ninyo. Very creative, very free-spirited. Ako, if you can only read the comments, no, ang daming mga comments, and the parents are actually very delighted with your explanation. Para silang na-light up, ganun pala yun. Meron palang blended learning. If you can read, may mga nag-cheer pa, we can do this! May mga rara-ra pa, no? Naku, Tere, I'm sure.
This is parents, yes, this is very doable.
That's true. Kaya siguro at this point, will you please share to our viewers more practical tips, especially as they now are gearing up for the school year. Next week na ata mag-start na yung ibang school year. So can you share more practical tips to our parents as they start on this new journey in home-based learning?
Yes. So many schools have started already. Actually, I know some parents, they have started last week. Some of the classes of their children have already started. And this week or in the coming weeks, more schools will be joining as well. Okay, so let me share some of my tips to our fellow parents, and I hope that with these tips, whatever is their choice, whatever they choose for their family, they would be enlightened what is best for their children, knowing their children's needs. So whatever you choose, whether it's online learning, it's blended learning, it's homeschooling, these are top 4 tips that I'd like you to remember. First and foremost, be involved. Parents' involvement has a positive effect on the child's academic success. When parents are paying attention to the needs of their children, to their lessons, to what they are saying, children are become more engaged. Mas ginaganahan sila. Mas tumatagal o humahaba yung attention span nila. I noticed this in my children. When we are discussing something and I am right there beside them, they are more interested, they are more persevering and patient. But when I step out, when halimbawa, I go to the kitchen to look at the food I'm cooking, or I check my computer, or I check my phone, parang pati yung engagement level bumababa. But when your children see that you are really invested and interested and you're really concerned in their education and what they are doing in school, they become more ganado. Yung parang gusto nilang magpakitang gilas lalo. And that's why, based on studies, it shows that those kids who have parents who are involved in their education are more successful in their academics. And we see this in our very own children. The second tip I'd like to share is that we need to be good role models. Whatever is our education option for this new school year, we have to be good examples to them. Children are always watching us. They are great imitators. Minsan nga kahit ayaw nating gayahin nila tayo, ginagaya nila yon. So we have to be very careful in being examples or models to our children. How we make decisions, our choices, how we talk, how we dress, all these things they are observing, they are watching, and the way we live our lives, that is the most important lesson that they are learning from us. So ako in my children, one of the examples that I have intentionally and joyfully shared with them is my love for learning and my love for books. And no wonder all my children are bookworms just like me, so they love to read. My third tip for parents is that we need to connect with our children. We need to connect with them. When we have a good rapport or we have a good relationship with our children, they will become more teachable. They will be more receptive to us when we are teaching them. Kahit naman sa traditional school, kapag hindi maganda yung rapport ng teacher at saka estudyante, medyo mahirap. Mahirap magturo. Hindi ganun ka-receptive yung bata. It's easier to teach and supervise a child when you have a good relationship with that child. So parents, kahit na naka-quarantine tayo, let's invest time with our children. Before the quarantine, I would date my children outside the house. Hindi naman fancy. Hindi naman kailangan palaging nasa fast food or restaurant or nasa mga malls. Sometimes we just go out in nearby stores. But because of the quarantine, I tried to be creative. So in different parts of the house, I have a date with them. At least once a month, I have a special time with them so I can invest in my children's lives. And each one of them, since I have 3 children, each one will feel loved and special on that particular day or during our date. So, yan, ganyan. Naglalaro kami ng chess, kumakain kami, nothing fancy, but the dedicated time helps me deposit in my child's love act. So that child will feel important. And fourth, I'd like teachers to, the parents to teach their children to be grateful. No? Let's remind them that not everyone has this opportunity to be educated at this time. It's a difficult time. There are a lot of families, a lot of parents who lost their jobs, who closed their businesses, and so many could not afford to have an education at this time. And if they are enrolled now, they are privileged, they are blessed. So that's something that we need to teach them. I teach my children to be grateful every day. They have their own notebooks, including my 5-year-old. Meron siyang small notebook. Sinusulat nila every day all their blessings. And sometimes nakakatuwa when even my second child, who is 8 years old, he writes that he was able to do his lessons, no? Meron siyang natutunang bago. So nakakatuwa yan because hindi lahat ng bata nakakatanggap ng ganitong privileges. So those are my 4 most important tips. Be involved, connect with your child, be a good role model, and teach your child to be grateful na meron silang ganitong opportunity to learn. Okay, so I hope our parents will learn from these tips, major tips that I have shared.
Okay, naku, baka at this point, marami silang mga questions. So for our audience who are tuned in, I would encourage you to please type your questions on the chat box. And our online moderators will be collating them later so that before Ms. Tere ends her presentation, we will try to answer all of your questions. And please don't forget to register so that if you have questions that we are unable to answer this morning, we will get back to you. Tama ba, Ms. Tere?
Yes, we will try to answer your questions even outside of this session or outside of this webinar.
Okay, just to read very quickly mga comments, tuwang-tuwa yung mga parents, sabi nila yung asynchronous sounds more ideal, especially for multi-level learners dahil hindi sila babad sa screen, no? So, ang nakakatuwa, parang ang dami dito na naaano sa synchronous yung asynchronous. Even for me, that's an additional word in the dictionary for me, no? So, Tara, I'm sure you have more to share. So, can you please expound more on the practical tips for parents who will be doing home-based learning this school week?
Yes, I'm excited to share these tips. No, we had been homeschooling for many years now, almost 12 years, because we have been homeschooling our children since birth. And I'm happy to share these tips because we have learned through the years. No, ang dami naming natutunan based on our experiences in the past almost 12 years. So the most important tip that I'd like to share now that almost all of us are shifting to home-based learning is that we need to assign a place for learning where there is minimal to no distractions. So ideally, if we can have that space, ideally hindi siya sa bedroom, not in the bedroom, not near the TV, and not near traffic areas kung saan maraming dumadaan. Kasi di ba kahit naman adults, nakaka-distract na maraming daan-daan, no? Ang daming movement, maraming ingay. So, ideally, dun sa lugar, in the house, in a corner, not necessarily a dedicated room kung talagang wala namang extra room, but there's a quiet place na makakapag-concentrate yung learner or student natin. And then another tip is that we have to set apart a place in the house for all the learning materials. So kung limited nga yung space, at least there should be a cabinet or a bookcase where we can put all the learning materials so that every time our students or our children will have their lessons, they know where to go to get their learning materials for the day. And they also know where to pack away or where to put them after the lessons. It saves a lot of time. I tell you, I have 3 boys, so organization is not their strength. So meron ng assigned place. There's a place for everything na gagamitin in the homeschool. It really saves us time and energy and the sanity of the teacher. Yan. And one tip is that it doesn't mean that because we are teaching small children that we will all do the packing away or the pagliligpit, no? It doesn't mean that way because in Montessori style or in the progressive way, we empower the children. No, we teach them skills so that they can be independent. Like they can pack away their own things. We just let them know where to put them after they use them. So halimbawa, kung meron tayong cabinet or bookcase, we teach them to put their things back there. And then kung talagang very limited yung space, tapos backpack lang yung lalagyan ng lahat ng mga gamit niya, at least dun sa backpack niya, ibalik niya lahat ng kanyang mga gamit. So that the following day, when you do your lessons, then the child will just get the backpack and everything that's needed for that lesson are already in there. It really saves time. No? It makes things simple, both for the child and for the parent who is teaching. And it's also helpful if there is a posted schedule, no? Sometimes there are families who like to have very detailed schedules for the day and for the week, but there are also families who do not have rigid or very detailed schedules, but they have routines. But it still helps if these are posted so that the child can look at the schedule or can look at the routine. You don't need to be the one always reminding the child what will happen next, what he will do next, because there is something that is posted that he or she can refer to every now and then. So, nakakatulong yon. For children na hindi pa marunong magbasa, instead of words in the schedule, you can put pictures. And mas maganda kung colorful kasi yan yung gusto ng mga bata. It helps them order their day and it helps predict what will happen because children thrive in routines. In our family, we don't have a rigid schedule, but we have a routine and the children already know what will happen next, or they have been accustomed to our schedule or daily routine in our household. And of course, even though we are doing lessons, we also need to integrate the physical needs of the child. As I've mentioned earlier, yung maliliit na bata, hindi yan kaya ng napakahabang mga klase. No, it's not ideal. Children are not built that way. Children are supposed to be moving a lot of physical activity. So we have to break down their schedule to include breaks for play, breaks for eating snacks, breaks for exercise and stretching. No, children are not designed to be looking at screens for very long periods of time. So us in our homeschool, we break it down. So when a child is finished with a few worksheets and the child asks me, "Mommy, can I eat?" So I let the child eat. Basta sasabihin ko, okay, you just clean up after you eat and then go back to your lesson after you're done eating. Or if a child asks me, "Mommy, can I play for a few minutes?" Okay, so I'll give the child around 10 to 15 minutes of play before we start again, no? Because children are not designed to think for very long periods of time. Limited yung kanilang attention span. So, we have to take our cue. We have to observe the child. Wag nating ipipilit yung schedule if it is not working, no? Use the child as gauge, not the clock, no? So, watch the child. Don't watch the clock too much in online learning because even if you insist on the schedule, if the child is no longer paying attention, then you are just wasting time and you are just wasting your energy. So at this point, I will let the parents digest, no? If there is anything that I have mentioned na medyo malabo or you have questions, don't forget to type your questions in the comment section. Okay, so sana naintindihan niyo yung mga in-explain ko earlier, and if not, pwede niyong i-type yung iba niyong questions if you want to ask for some clarifications. Okay, so let me move on. Another tip is that, ewan ko kung napanood nyo to or nakita nyo sa Facebook, no? Sabi nila, ang online learning behind the camera, merong katabi na may hawak na pamalo. No, I found this very funny. One of my friends shared this in his Facebook wall, and sabi ko, I'd like to share this photo during this webinar. It's also helpful to assign a parent or a relative kung both parents are outside the house working or busy to supervise the child during the online learning. Kasi baka mamaya nagkakaroon ng technical problems or the child is having difficulties with the online class. Ngayon, kung wala talagang available adult who can supervise, na titingin-tingin do sa lesson ng bata. If you can afford to install CCTV cameras in the room where the online learning will happen, it will be helpful because you can monitor this using your phone. Even if you are in the office or in another room, you can still check on your child if you have a CCTV in the area where the child is having the online learning or the blended learning. No, shinare ko to kasi personally, I have experienced this. No, during the summer, my children were enrolled in an online Filipino class. So sabi ko nga kanina, hindi naman kailangan lahat parent yung magtuturo. No? Filipino is not one of my strengths even when I was a student. So I was very happy to collaborate with another school that teaches Filipino and they have online classes. So sabi ko, let's try this for our children. I enrolled my first and second child in their online Filipino class. And I would sit beside the child, beside the computer, pero wala naman akong pamalo. I just sit there so I can listen kung ano yung pinag-aaralan nila so that I can reinforce offline kapag tapos na yung klase, and I can check on the child's screen. Kasi in online learning, medyo difficult for the teacher. It's more challenging for the teacher to manage the class, no? It's so easy for a child, for a student to turn off the camera, to turn off the mic, and to disengage. In the regular classroom, in the traditional classroom, the teacher can go around. So mas nakikita ng teacher. Pwede niyang lapitan, pwede niyang kalabitin, no? Pero dito sa online learning, puro screens. Tapos pwede pang i-turn off nung bata yung screen. I remember one time, nagpi-Filipino online class yung panganay ko. Pag silip ko, ibang screen na yung tinitingnan. Tapos, nung in-interview ko, so my next tip is ask feedback from your child. So, in-interview ko yung anak ko after the class. Sabi ko, Kuya, why did you go to a different site? Your class is not yet finished. Tapos, ang dami niyang sinabing dahilan. So, nagpa-fluctuate. So, humihina daw yung signal ni teacher. Minsan, nawawala si teacher. Napuputol yung sinasabi ni teacher. Hindi niya masyado maintindihan lalo. And sometimes, ang bagal ng pacing ng class kasi inaantay niya yung mga classmates niya na sumagot or magbasa. So, my child is bored. That's what happened to him. He was bored. So, habang inaantay niya yung mga classmates niya, nag-open siya ng different tab. At dun siya nanonood habang inaantay niya the rest of the class to be done with whatever is being discussed. So, it's also good to ask feedback from our children. Ano yung difficulties and challenges nila habang nag-online class? Nakakasunod ba sila? Or do they find it fast? Do they find it slow? Or just right to their pace? And then of course, syempre, we have to ask feedback from our child's teacher. No? Hindi natin sila kalaban, kakampi natin sila. They are our allies. So ako rin, I constantly communicate. So I give feedback through email, through text. Pag halimbawa naglalag or nagpa-fluctuate yung internet connection ni teacher, tinetext ko siya, or I send emails and give feedback after the class or during the class kapag nahihirapan yung bata na hindi na siya maintindihan kasi there's a fluctuation in the internet signal. So, it's good to be in touch with our children's teacher. And they can also give us feedback kung ano yung strengths and ano pa yung areas for improvement ng anak natin. And my last tip for parents is that we need to share the load of teaching to our spouses. No? Usually kasi yung the mommies are the ones being asked to handle most of the homeschooling of the children. Pero hindi naman kailangang mommy lang, no? It's good if the subjects are divided between spouses. So, based on availability and of course, based on capability or competence. So, for example, in our homeschool, my husband is strong in the IT, no? His experience is in IT. So I delegated technology to him, no? He's also sporty and I am not a sporty person. So yung PE sa kanya ko na dinedelegate. So he's the one teaching the kids yung running, swimming, biking, siya yan. Tapos yung mga technology related activities, yung mga STEM classes, siya rin yan. he is more gifted in music. Ako hindi. Nako, baka sumabla yung anak ko kapag ako yung nagturo ng music. So, dinelegate ko na rin sa kanya yung music. But I handle most of the subjects. So, language, history, no, arts, yan yung forte ko. Yan yung mga tinuturo ko sa mga bata. So, between spouses, it would be good na pag-usapan ninyo, no? Pag-usapan nyo what are the things na kaya nyong ituro at saka kung kailan. So, my husband works from Monday to Friday. So, minsan, pag night time or pag uwi niya from the office dati before the pandemic, because now he works from home. So, in the evening, sometimes meron siyang short session with the children. Pero most of the time, Saturdays, yun yung time na humahabol sila doon sa mga lessons. Especially with my eldest, because my eldest is almost graduating in elementary. So yung more difficult math lessons, I have delegated them to my husband. So, ganon. It's important that the husband and the wife practices teamwork. Hindi kailangang isa lang yung magtuturo kasi iba talaga yung impact sa children if the parents are helping each other, no? Pati sa home economics namin, it's not just me teaching the children household chores. My husband is also teaching our kids, no? What are the things that they need to do as part of their homeschool lessons.
Wow! Thank you, Mr. Ren! Ako, ang dami mga comments. If you can only see sa chat box, napakadaming comments dun sa mga shinare mo. Many parents can relate, especially dun sa mga tips na binigay mo, and they feel, at the same time, they feel grateful, at the same time, they feel quite overwhelmed. So, tamang-tama, we have Q&A. Karamihan sa mga nag-react dun sa, oo nga no, dapat we should share that teaching load to both spouses. So, siguro baka next time, we can also invite George, no, to our future home-based learning session. No? But before we do that, let me just throw in some questions kasi ang dami nag-sign, marami nagtanong. So for our first question, no, thank you so much for your input. Ako din, dami ko natutunan na pwede i-apply sa aking mga pamangkin. Ano? So it is a first question yung binanggit mo about hindi naman lahat ng parents stay at home. May mga iba na work. So the question is, now that we are in the new normal, what can you suggest to our parents out there who are not who are work from home, or how can they effectively do home-based schooling when they're also at work? Any tips for them?
That's a very valid concern. No? Yan talaga yung problema ng maraming mga magulang at this time. No? Kasi now that we are in a pandemic, no, our main priority is survival. And parents, syempre, our main concern is to provide for our children. Hindi naman pwedeng hindi magtrabaho. No? Anong kakainin ng pamilya natin kung hindi magtatrabaho mga magulang? That's a very valid concern. So, for those who are working from home, dalawa yan no? So, saan ba enrolled yung mga anak ninyo, no? Asynchronous ba yan or synchronous? So, yun yung kaninang natin, no? Yung kaninang diniscuss natin. Pag synchronous, talagang wala tayong magagawa kundi sumabay dun sa schedule that is given by the school, no? Wala tayong control dun It's the school who decides on that schedule. Now, if we can find the school na pwedeng asynchronous yung online classes, that is more helpful kasi mas manageable for us. Dahil the children, especially if we have multiple children, they can take turns using the gadgets, no? Mas less costly, no? Less costly rin yun sa atin. In terms of schedule, because they don't need to be online all at the same time or at a specific hour because they can manage their learning during the asynchronous online classes. So, pwede natin siya isingit in our work schedule. So, kung ikaw ay freelancer or if you have work that is more flexible. So, for example, ako, I work freelance. I am not paid by the schedule unless it is a talk or a training that has a specific schedule. But I am paid based on my results. So, I can be flexible on my work schedule. So, if you have a more flexible work schedule, mas kaya na i-rearrange or i-adjust yung schedule. And if you are homeschooling, yun nga yung last option kanina, there is more flexibility in the schedule, in the dynamics, because you can really tailor fit your education, your routine, your homeschool routine or your homeschool schedule to your family dynamics, no? Kung busy kayo during the day, you can do homeschooling at night. If the education option you have chosen is either blended and asynchronous and homeschooling. Pero yun nga, kapag enrolled ka sa regular school, if it's a regular school, you really have to abide by it. Now, if you're working from home, my tip to parents is step out of your work area during breaks. No, let's make the most of this work from home setup. Kasi in the office, kapag breaks, ang ka-mingle natin is the office mate. Pero now, you can check on your child, no? So you can use those breaks to check on your child's lesson, ano ba yung ginagawa nila, or to simply connect. Kung maikli lang talaga yung break mo, connect with the child. Because yun nga, if you have a good relationship with the child is more receptive to teaching.
Thank you for your answer, Tereno. So very critical din pala, aside from having that kind of flexibility and schedule, is you also involve yung mga, let's say nag-work ka sa outside, wala ka sa bahay, very important din pala, Terena, involve mo rin yung mga tao sa bahay mo, ano? Tama ba?
Yes,
na may kasamang, I don't know, helper or lola or tito, tita, no? Na who can assist you in the schedule to make sure that they're studying. Tama ba?
Tama. Hindi naman kailangan ito lahat di ba? Kasi kung wala kang bahay, who are the people who are part of your team? So, for me, I work most of the time from home, but there are also times before the pandemic that I will be outside conducting trainings, having meetings with my clients. And during those times, nagigiwan ako ng lesson. Mayroon silang printed activities or printed worksheets, and I ask my mom or my husband to implement that for me. So sila yung magsusupervise habang I'm working outside. And then when I get home or during the next weekend, I check on what the children have done or what they have answered. So, gano'n. Talagang kailangan magtutulungan kayo sa bahay in the family on how to implement it.
May teamwork din, ano? So, pag-assign ka ng principal, security guard, or tutor, no? Pero tayong question 2, Tere, no? Ito lumabas to sa ating mga audience also. How old should the kids begin homeschooling? I have 2 toddlers. And then follow-up question, pwede din bang homeschool sa mga teens?
Yes!
So, yun yung question. So, applicable daw ba sa age 17 and 19? So, ano bang tamang age daw? How old should the kids begin homeschooling?
Okay, sagutin ko muna ito sa mga mas bata, no? You can do homeschooling as early as the child is ready, no? It really depends on the child. Sabi nila kasi, better late than early. No, I don't support that because for me, if the child is ready, why would you prolong the wait? So, if the child is ready, then you can start teaching. Because even if you delay it, if the child is not yet ready, wala rin mangyayari. So, observe the child. Sabi ko nga, sometimes you don't need to buy very expensive curriculums, but you just use the child as the curriculum. Let the child lead. So, what the child needs, what the child is interested in. So if you have a toddler and the toddler is ready, then start teaching whatever the toddler is receptive to. When my eldest was a toddler, he was very receptive. Kaya nga, nadala namin siya sa isang developmental pediatrician kasi parang feeling ko dati, naubusan na ako ng ituturo. Bakit parang masyadong mabilis? So yung pala, he was already ready for kinder material when he was a toddler. So sabi nung doktor, Mami, nabobore na yung anak mo, medyo bigyan mo ng advanced lesson. So kung ready yung bata, give the resources, no? Teach the child. Pero pwede pa rin siya kahit teenagers, no? Homeschooling can also work for teenagers and for those older. There are homeschoolers who also enroll in distance learning. Merong open university, no? Distance learning. So you don't need to go to the college or to the university. Before the pandemic, may mga schedule lang na you are required to report and to have meetings in school, but majority is done at home, no? Home-based, online, may mga modules na kailangan mong aralin. So, it can work. It can work both for the young people, very young, and also to the more to the older children, yung mga teenagers na. Pero syempre, kapag gusto mong i-homeschool yung mga teenagers, kailangan may buy-in, no? Kasi kailangan may ano sila, may buy-in, they agree to it, no? Kasi yung toddlers, medyo mas madaling i-convince pa yon, no? Hindi pa yon masyadong nag-iisip ng on their own. Pero yung mga teenagers, we have to ask them, gusto ba nila? Are they willing to try it, no? Hindi pwedeng ipilit lang natin, ay, homeschool na kita. Or we have to present it to them, no? Treat them like adults.
Wow, thank you so much. Ako, dami mga nagta-thumbs up, natutuwa sa comments, ano? They were very, very delighted sa mga sagot mo, no? Now, unfortunately, we don't have so much time to answer all your questions. So again, please register so that we can get back to you and you can ask more questions. Now, we have 2 minutes left for this segment, Ms. Taredo. For our last question, eto maraming parents ang nagsabi sa amin, and some of them are people that we know, that because of budget constraint, alam mo, marami na lay off, di ba? Marami na wala ng trabaho. If we cannot enroll this school year due to budget reasons, so what can you suggest to us? So yung ibang nga dyan may guilt feeling ko, naku, hindi ko nag-enroll yung anak ko. What advice can you give them?
Okay. So, that is really valid. Sabi ko nga kanina nagsimula tayo, maraming parents, yan yung major concern, no? Providing for their children during this time of pandemic. My main word to you is, do not be guilty if you cannot enroll them, if you cannot afford to enroll them this school year, no? Kasi syempre, there's a hierarchy of needs, no? Kailangan muna nating mag-provide yung paano natin pakakainin yung mga anak natin. No? Kung wala ka talagang pang-enroll, syempre, we have to provide first for the basic needs of our children. But it doesn't mean that you cannot educate them because they're not enrolled in a school. Hindi naman lahat ng learning happens only in the classroom. It's not just academics that we can teach our children. There are many other things that we need to teach them. So for example, if this year will be devoted only to values education and character formation, you still win, no? Kasi I'm an HR practitioner and I tell the hiring managers and even the HR who is in charge of recruitment, hire for attitude and character, train for skills, no? Pag okay yung attitude, okay yung values, naku, madali na lang yan yung training. Pero kapag naku, negative yung character, yung values, napakahirap niyan. So, aim to teach your children good values, to form their character, and if you're a Christian, introduce God to them, help them to have a strong relationship with God during this year that they are not enrolled in a regular school.
Wow, very well said. Wow, I feel my heart is so full right now. Sobrang, alam mo, Mr. Red, you provide so much hope to our parents who are listening right now, and many of them are in panic mode. But hearing from you those words of wisdom, talaga namang sobrang nakakabigay ng pag-asa para sa ating mga magulang, ano. And unfortunately, we want to hear more from Tere, but we don't have so much time. So again, if you have questions, please register. And if you are registered to this webinar, we have a surprise for you. But we will reveal that towards the end. But before we let Ms. Tere go, we would like to appreciate you for everything that you've given us this morning, your insights or advice. But before we end, no, can you share your final words of wisdom, any insight, no? As a practitioner of home-based learning for the past decade or more than a decade, actually 12 years, you've mentioned, no? What words of wisdom can you leave our parents for this morning?
Okay, parents, it's not just academics that we need to teach our children. Especially in this pandemic, we need to teach them survival skills, no? If you get sick, do your children know how to cook food, no? Napaka importante, very practical, no? It's very possible that one of the parents can get sick during this pandemic. Can the children take care of themselves? So we have to teach our children life skills, no? Hindi lang academics. Don't focus too much on academics because there are many important lessons that our children need to learn from us that are outside the classroom. And it's not just in the classroom that we learn. Sometimes the most important lessons in life we learn at home. We learn in the family. And so I think this quarantine period can be a blessing in disguise to our families. No, this can be an opportunity for parents to really pass on their faith to their children, pass on their values to their children, and prioritize the skills, the life skills that will really set up their children for success in the future. Because not everything that you will need to become successful in life are learned in school. No? Sometimes the most important lessons are learned from living life itself.
Wow, thank you, Mr. Re. Our parents are showing much love to you in the chat box. They're sending hearts and virtual claps. So we're so grateful, no, for your time. So at this point, Mr. Re, I'm sure our audience would like to connect with you. Can you please invite them to your website or your blog if you have? So can you please share to them?
Yes, please. If you want to learn more from me, I have made a series of blog posts about homeschooling in my website. The name of my website is Hands-on Parent While Earning. So I blog there. It has won in the CMMA or Catholic Mass Media Awards for Best Blog. So you can follow me through my blog. I also have a Facebook page for that blog, same title, Hands-on Parent While Earning on Facebook. And you can also follow me on Instagram. I share pictures of some of our homeschool lessons and activities in my Instagram. And as I mentioned earlier, when we started, I started a support group. We have a support group for homeschooling parents. It is called Homeschooling Parents Support Group PH. So in that support group, I have arranged my blog post about homeschooling in an order that will help you understand homeschooling better so that you will not be overwhelmed. I know that there are a lot of information in the internet about homeschooling, but in this group, I already arranged the topics according to unit. So you just read and follow the units and you will have a better understanding of homeschooling. So if you can follow me and join me there, I can also answer your questions on homeschooling in that support group.
No, so hindi nagtatapos dito ang kanyang mga tips, no? So please like and follow her on her website, on her Facebook page. And Tere is a prolific writer, so marami rin siyang books that I'm sure many of you can relate. And again, Tere, thank you so much. You've been a big help to our audience and hope we can have you again. I feel like may part 2 ito. Would you agree?
Thank you.
Kulang yung 1 hour.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm blessed and I'm privileged to have this opportunity to help fellow parents during this time through our webinar. So I'm also grateful that you have invited me to share about our experience here in your webinar.
And thank you, Tere, for your wisdom. So we'll hope to see you again and we'll see you not just in the webinar, but maybe pag okay na yung live, we can invite you again to our session. Thanks and God bless.
Thank you.
Okay. So, alam ko, ang daming mga natuwa and nag-aantay ng ating surprise. But before we reveal the surprise to those who have registered, no, to give time to those who have not registered yet, we'll share to you this short ABP to get to know more about the City Financials and what we can offer you.
Nothing gives us greater joy than seeing our children succeed. We make this happen by ensuring they get the best education we can provide. But with the rising cost of tuition fees and the longer time it takes to finish college, planning for our children's education as early as possible has never been more important. Introducing Future Scholar, an investment and life insurance plan that helps you prepare for your child's future education costs. It provides you guaranteed cash payouts over the 4 years of your child's college education with opportunities to earn higher investment returns from Philam Life's investment funds. Should the unexpected happen to you, the plan will still be active without having to make future payments. Build your child's education fund in 5 years or until they reach the age of 17 for a minimum payment of 20,000 pesos per year. Give your child the best education you can provide with Future Scholar. an education plan you can trust.
About Future Scholar. Now, if you want to know more how we at Lucido Financials can help you in securing your child's future, please go back to the person who invited you to this webinar, ask more questions, set up appointment, and then ask them how you can be helped in terms of securing your child's financial education. And please don't forget to like and share our page. So to make sure before this webinar ends, you will receive the surprise. No, make sure that you are registered. So what's our surprise? The surprise is our guest speaker, Ms. Teresa Gumap-as Dumadag, will be giving away 10 free ebooks. 10 free ebooks to our lucky audience right now. So from career woman, okay, to stay-at-home mom, to work-at-home mom, to businesswoman. So career transition. So this book is about transitioning from a corporate career to being a stay-at-home and work-at-home mom, and then to a business mom. Wow! So if you're not a mom, it's a good gift that you can give to a mom. Okay, ate mo, tita mo, mommy mo, no? It's a very nice gift. But there are 3 requirements for you to qualify. One is if you have pre-registered, okay? So just scan the QR code that you can see on the screen, visit the link in the comments section to register, and then like and share our page. And then third, comment your thoughts or your insights or best learning from this webinar. So we will choose the top 10 best answers, okay? Now get this book. It's for free for those of you who have been in this webinar and register. You still have time until 10 p.m. tonight, okay, to register, all right? And we will give the announcement tomorrow, 10 a.m. Abangan niyo po sa aming Facebook, okay? Facebook page at Lucido Financials. We will reveal the winners of these 10 ebooks from our esteemed guests. Okay, so this ends our webinar. But before we go, no, we have more in store for you in this Gear Up series. So next month, we have another speaker that will talk about career transition, okay? His name is Omi Romero of OTI Consulting. He will share about how you can actually navigate through the different career transition that we have right now, okay, that is happening. And also, right after this, we have a business opportunity program with Mr. Edric Mendoza. So if you want to be part of that BOP, Business Opportunity Program, go back to the person who invited you or chat with us on the chat box, okay? And then we will send you link how you can register, okay? So, in behalf of Lucido Financials and the whole team, I am Maya Rosales. I am your host and very grateful to be with you. So see you again in our next Gear Up series. And stay safe, everyone, because here at Lucido, we do care.